you want to be believed, meaning that you want to believe in who you are or what your life is about or why you are here. Um, and sometimes that can be challenging or difficult, and maybe especially now. But I was sitting here today and I'm thinking about, I was talking to people and saying that I'm changing things in my program. And I said I had to change today. And I was also frustrated because I'm seeing so many people, there's so much going on in our world, and I know where you could go. I know how you could change it all, and I got really frustrated. And so I sat here and I thought, they won't believe me. So when I do that, I go and look and see if there's a message like that. There's nothing that's accidental. And of course, I'm led to a Wilhelm message that explains exactly why I thought that and why you won't believe me. Because I've done something that has never been done, and you have a difficult time believing it. My family doesn't believe it. No one believed it. And even though, and this is why I keep talking about cognitive dissonance, I say, I came into the world and I had everything wrong with me, and I went through all kinds of trauma. I did everything. I'm 74, it's all gone. And you'll say, no, I can't do that. This is the message that came up when I just went to I went into my messages, my Wilhelm messages, and I searched. Why am I feeling no one would believe me? And that's the thing you go to. Don't you hate that? People don't believe you. You know? Yeah, that's what we all kind of move through. And it's this. I haven't read it, but it'll be fun. And it's this. You are always asked to become more. We know that many of you are unnerved by the current conditions of your world, and that is because you wanted things to change, and you knew that your presence in the world now would facilitate that change if you were to add your essence to the mix, and all you had to do was become yourself. That goal is always challenging, but always rewarding and the only reason you wanted to be alive. But you have also held yourself back in certain areas. And the recent turn of events in your world has brought that to your attention. That brings us to our live talk yesterday, which was upsetting to Roger. And we did it all for a reason and for you. When Roger listened to the recording last night, it felt different than the others. He thought that we were too intense and that we were yelling at you, which is a term he has used before. And yes, we were. You are moving through previous limitations and restrictions in this lifetime. You did not overcome before in this life or others, but sometimes you hold back. And due to the restructuring of your world, you can no longer do that. Yes, the delivery was fast. And that was because, as we said, Roger can now interpret our information much quicker. But he also doesn't fully trust that. So if he goes faster, he won't lose the connection. Many of you are having those experiences, and you are meant to do so now. You can no longer hold yourself back for fear of judgment. You can no longer believe that your voice is not essential in this change, for the opposite is true, which was the point we attempted to make. When the recording is released and you have the opportunity to listen, you will know we were yelling at you. And the more of you who hear us, the more likely you will manifest the world you want. But you will not do it with your old ways. We will be here for guidance as the next several weeks will offer unique challenges for you and your world. But you are up to the challenge this time because you didn't finish before. But you are not done yet, and neither are we. And you will be fine. Wilhelm. And that's the kind of shocking experience that I have all the time because I know that everything's in a line and I've received everything. And I understand why people are yelling at me before saying I should have been charging a lot more money. But I so wanted people to understand what they could do. But I have to move on as you do. As we have to become who we're meant to be. And yes, I developed some skill that had never been done before. but it causes healing. It's just you won't believe it. And that will be the only difficulty in your life because what this work does is guide you to who you're meant to be. And that's why I'm changing. And I get a little frustrated with myself at times, as you might, because I'll go back and find messages like this and the recording, which I'll let you hear a bit. I'll attach it, some of it here so you can hear it because it's all there. You will know exactly what's happening in the world now because Wilhelm told us. You will love it. And check out the work in my program because it's what will change your life. We are so pleased that you're here. And again, we have waited for you all of your lives. Now, today you will accept that a little bit more. And we know that many of you have understood that if you've been here, if you've visited with us previously, you have seen because you've noticed things occurring in your lives and in your world that have been um, initiated here, let's say, but it's beyond that. We have the message on the screen today for you because it's why we keep saying we've waited for you your entire lives because you've each experienced aspects of that and you were meant to utilize all of that now. See, because you came here now to move your world into a new one. That's why you're here. We've told you many times you came to usher in a new world. And the way that you're going to do that individually is becoming yourself, is owning every aspect of you that you have not understood until now. And as you do that, and as you come together with these other like minded whole beings, you change your world. You bring in the world that you want. Now, you know that what you're seeing now is not what you wanted, but that's why you're here. That's exactly why you're here. We're going to give you things that you find hard to believe, which is why we've taken you on all of these really surprising trips to get you to expand your consciousness, to move out of it, because that's what's happening. You're all changing. You're moving into a new dimension, and that's why it seems so strange and uncomfortable and scary. You're all doing it. But you came to do something specific. You came to help people move into the light. That's why you're here. And you know that. You felt that. You haven't lived lives that demonstrated that, but you felt that intuitively. That's who you are. When you come into the world, you do it at different times in the earth plane trajectory, so to speak. You do it at different times, but you do it when you know that it's going to help your evolution because you're eternal beings. You're always evolving. You just do it at different times in different ways, but you pick particular times to come into the world, to incarnate into the world, because it's going to be the best time for you to actualize who you are. Because you've been holding back. You've been afraid, you've been doubting, you've been fearful, and we've told you that forever. That's why we keep inviting you here. Because see, you end up in the perfect places because you came here with Roger. Who else would be better to help you move through this period except someone who has dealt with so much fear and doubt his entire life? We keep throwing in surprises so that he can understand it, so he can give it to you. Now, we're saying this again because what happens is you are hearing your guides. You're not hearing us. We are bringing it up. But now what that does is it causes you to hear your guides because they've been speaking to you your entire existence. And they're telling you who you're meant to be and what you could accomplish and what you could achieve. But you have not accepted all of that. And you never do. That's why you keep coming back. That's why you have lifetime, so you can fill out more. So each of you are here filling out some particular portion of your evolutionary journey, but you're doing it at this time because this is the restructuring of your world. We've said this over and over again because we want you to understand the enormity of the task that you decided to take on. And you should be so proud of yourselves. Now, you know that things have been a little uncomfortable for you and you haven't understood them. This is why we've been throwing in all of these things that don't make sense to Roger so that you can start to understand you. You have a divine plan. That's why we have that a message on the board. We gave you that in 2012 because we knew it would take that much time for you to understand it, work through those things to come here now. This is why we said to you yesterday, linear time slows you down. It slows down your expansion. It slows down your evolution because you think things have to happen in a sequential way. No, you have the ability in this moment collectively to put your energies in a place where you could manifest a world that you would love. But you just don't believe that you could do that. But we're going to keep talking about it. Now, we went through another extraordinary term. We had Roger start a course that we gave you in 2012, which you couldn't believe that that happened. He couldn't believe it either. That's why he wouldn't do it. That's why you haven't done your thing, because you haven't believed it fully. But that's okay. We're going to keep saying this because you meant to do it now. You meant to do it now. And we also said in our message that we're going to keep this fun because so many of you have struggled and suffered. We know. We've seen your lives and we know what you went through. You just didn't understand why you were doing it. So you were doing it so you could be here now to actualize yourselves in a new way. And that your energy is going to then usher in that new world. But you can only do that when you let go of your self-judgment. The program that we have you in now, we gave you back in 2012, but we knew we wanted you to use it now. And those of you in there have seen miraculous things happening very quickly, and you didn't understand it. You didn't understand why you were getting these changes, because what happened was we developed something that allowed you to connect with your higher self. It's not us. You're answering the questions. You're writing. You're figuring out your journey. You're figuring out your mission. And we did that because we knew that the more of you who did that at this time would cause your world to blossom into the thing that you wanted it to be. Except you hold back and you get afraid. And that's why you have Roger. The person who feared everything his entire life and didn't understand it. We're saying this because we want you to know that his entire life was structured in a way to be here now to help you. Because that helps him. He knows what his evolutionary journey was. He didn't do all this stuff before. He knows. We've told you in our last session where he realized that he kept people, he mummified people. That's what he did. That was his job. But he had guilt. He had guilt. And so this lifetime, he's working through that. He moved through so much of it. He spent 50 years moving through it. And then we also orchestrated this to show you, to give you the examples of what you're capable of. This is someone who's gone through every major physical illness or malady as you think of it as humans. And then we said, okay, now let's do this. Let's send you to your doctor and have you have a colonoscopy. See, because that's the thing that you were supposed to be afraid of, because your father died of colon cancer. And you've had some trouble. But no, you don't anymore because you accepted where you're going. And so that changes everything. So he went in and the doctor said, it's perfect. I don't need to see you ever again. Not literally, but basically. But the fact was, we did that because we want you to understand you're each doing the same thing. You're here to move through something. We've told you, it's your ancestors. It's those who came before. It may be your parents. Maybe you can see that. But you're here to do more than they did. See, because that's how things progress. That's how evolution occurs. That's how your world keeps evolving. You each have that ability. But the difficulty up until now, because you're starting to understand this, you didn't know why you had all the trouble, though. You didn't know why you couldn't quite get there, or why you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin. Now you will. If you keep going, if you keep moving in the direction that you've done, because we know that you've taken steps already. We're saying this because you get impatient sometimes. You're moving through something now, this particular galactic period, you haven't even experienced in your world more than 600 years. How could you know anything about it? We're talking about just this particular day. However, what's coming now is something that you have humanity hasn't experienced. It's a new dimension, and that's why it feels different to you. That's why it feels scary. And again, we prepared because we took Roger through times of moving him through in and out of dimensions, and he became comfortable with it. And so now what has happened, he is integrating us more than ever before. His communication now, as we said, your communication will get louder. You start to understand, you start to put things together in a different way. And the training that we've given you is allowing each of you to do that. And you've noticed it already. And it hasn't even been that long. We're saying that because it took Roger his entire life, you see. But what you're each are doing is moving into aspects of yourselves that are higher in light. We don't like using terms that give you comparisons because you've done that. You've compared yourself to others and you make yourselves weak. So we don't ever use those terms. We don't even like the ascension term, even though that is what you're doing, but we want you to think of it in a new way. You're ascending and expanding your consciousness. Your consciousness and your awareness goes out this way, as we've explained before. We don't like using up and down because you're here to change the hierarchy. You're here to shift the balance, the wealth and income inequality that has existed in your world forever, because that's all you do is use those things, physical things, to discover who you are. We'll explain that further, you see, because some of you are already figuring that out. You'll begin to notice in all the messages that we gave you in 2012 in your life operating instructions, all of them talked about your physical body. Did you get that? Did you hear it? We talked about your physical body because we wanted you to understand that you were using it in this physical existence, and you set it up so that you could move through restrictions and blockages in your spiritual eternal body so that you could become more of yourself. And that's how your world changes. If you look at your world, can't you see that that's happened? You've studied history. How do you think that happened? Humans came together, they compared notes, they put together things, and they said, okay, let's create this. And then you did other things that you're not understanding now. As you begin to interact with one another as humans, and you can go back to your prehistoric days, you start to then want to control. You want to control one another because you don't know where you are, so you feel really insecure. So control seems to be the best thing. If I can control another person, then maybe I'm powerful. And you've done that forever. We're speaking about humans. We're not speaking about you, even though it is you, but you don't have memories of that. But that's what you've done. But here now, in this lifetime, you decided to change that. You decided to shift things so your world could move into a new paradigm. And everyone knows this. There are many here who actually know this and who are remembering it, but you haven't trusted all of it, but that's okay. You're starting to now and embrace that. You'll remember more and it'll come through easily. That's what's happening. So what happens when you go through a change? Now, you've done this in your history many, many times. Any change that you go through as your world or your country or whatever it might be, you move into the unknown. And so as humans, you just really hate the unknown. So you will make up stuff to try to explain away what's going on. And you did it now with your pandemic. That's why you're still having it. We've told you, you've carried this one on so much longer than you did the one you had just 100 years ago. Why did you do that? Because you're not willing to own who you are. See, let's explain that. And you each will get this. You are fighting right now over the virus, okay, the pandemic, that as you've called it. However, your virus is an organism just like as you are. And so everybody's trying to live is what's going on. And so you as humans at this time, you're going to have to figure out how are you going to create a space where everyone lives in a harmonious way so your world survives. That's where you are. We won't tell you what your solution is, but it's in there. Your solution is in there. You see, when you find that that solution, how you see all of this, and put your essence into it, that things start to change. Because number one, you're going to feel more at peace, and you'll know that. We've told you that the only question, or the only thing you need to become aware of or mindful of, is your intention. Your intention, whatever you do, whatever action you take, whatever thought you hold, which is why we brought you here today, because we want you to think of it now, because it will be important on your New Year's Eve. Your New Year's Eve has no importance of its own. Ah, why is that? It's completely impartial. However, you have made it important. You've done it. You've done it over eons, over centuries. Actually, you didn't really do that earlier on in your lives before you had certain of your, um, let's say your revolutions, your putting things into more structured kind of thing. You didn't have that earlier on in human existence, but you have it now. So what happens whenever you put your energy onto something, it grows. So you've imbued New Year's Eve with such powerful energy that you create things. But sometimes you're not aware of the energy that you're using to create. This year, you will be, which is why we planned this. This was not accidental. And we planned it on this day because it was a day that Roger's energy, because of who he is, his particular astrological makeup, he picked that as you did, but it's this day, there's more energy that he could bring to you to kind of buffer you up a little bit to move through this next period. Because it's going to look a little weird. It's going to look a little crazy for a few weeks. But if you start doing this now, you're going to be blown away with what you see come next year and into your February, March. It's going to be completely different. But that all depends on what you do. That's why we gave you the message this morning. We said everything is still up to you. And up to you just means that you just have to own who you are and let go of your judgments. Others are not going to do that. We've talked about the others consistently in our talks because we want you to recognize the fact that you see other people who have very different ideas and beliefs than you do. There are many people in this community, because you, as humans, you always split yourselves off into different groups until there's those who call in the spiritual community. We don't fit basically in that way. We don't do things in a particular way because that was Roger's agreement. He knew that at this time, in this lifetime, he had to work out something different. He said, I'm not going to allow myself to bring through Wilhelm unless I can do it in a specific way. And that specific way was, I wanted it to be fun. I want people to understand their light. I've suffered way too much. So this has to be fun. We have to move into a new era, and we can't do that with holding burdens of what we think we did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just figuring it out so you could get here. That's all. And it's going to be so explosive as the more of you do this. Think about that. You can see examples of that, where there is a kind of an energy that just moves worlds when more of you come together. And in our message this morning, we know that there, with what you see happening in your world, it feels as if there is this battle between the evil forces, the dark and the evil. We don't see that. We do not see that. We see that there needs to be more light. That's all, because that's all that's real. That's all that's real. That's all that exists. And that's all that you are. And you're moving into that. And you know that, though. So you're different. You knew that you had accepted something you couldn't quite understand for many different reasons, but you didn't understand it, but it's starting to make more sense now. You've seen some of it. And it's a gradual progression. You do it in increments. You always do. Your humanity does it that way. That's why we said be patient. We need you to be patient. Because see, when you're patient, you're projecting an entirely new energy. You're projecting an energy of hope and belief. And you're imagining, we've given you that so many times. We want you to imagine instead of taking your old stuff and projecting that into your new world. You're going to imagine what you want to have, how you want your life to exist, how you want your world, and forget about your restrictions. What happens is, and we've given you some of you might have seen this already. We've given you so much of this in our program, where you contradict yourselves. You do it all the time. You've been doing it for years. You say, "Oh, I'm going to be this person. I'm going to do this thing," and then the next second is, "No, I can't do that. That's not me. I don't have any talent. I don't have any ability. I can't do that." That's what you did. And so when you do that over and over again, you believe that it's real. Everything is an illusion. We told you. You use physical things to understand who you are on the soul level. Your soul is what brought you here. That's what's been directing your entire lives. Your soul is that part of you that is connected to the universe, God, Gaia, whatever you want to call it. It's that part that is connected everywhere. No, there's no soul who does not have that connection. You all have it. You just do it in different ways, but you end up getting to the same place eventually, because you come to understand that you're all the same. You keep working on that. You haven't gotten there yet. We told you that the United States was going to lead the way. We told you this 2 years ago, by the way, in your restructuring. And so you're starting to see some of that in ways that you don't want to see. You're seeing it in the division. You're seeing it in the making everyone, as you see, we gave you in this message, we said right. That's the message we gave you there, because you all believe that you're right. We told you that, we began telling Roger that your challenge now is to figure those things out. See, because you have these ambiguities, let's call it, within yourself. You think that you have something, but then you don't. And you go back and forth. That's okay, because eventually you get tired of it. Eventually you just say, "No, okay, I'm going to move into something that I don't even trust. I don't even know, but I think this is where I'm supposed to go." And once you do, wow, things change. We did something else the other day, because we want you to see, each of you, you've done this, understand, and it's not a bad thing. It's perfect. It's all perfect. But what you did is you forgot who you were. You put it away and you kept doing it throughout your lives, because you were taught that it was limitations and restrictions. We said that's all you're doing here, is moving through your limitations and restrictions. And so the other day we had Roger, we directed him. We must tell you, this is new. He didn't trust us like this before. He would question everything. Still, he does it somewhat now, but that's only because he still gets a little afraid. I'm not sure about that one. This morning there were other things that were coming about. We told him, "No, don't. You don't need to understand that now. You each don't need to understand everything, just what's in front of you right now." So what we did was, we guided him through. We said, "Go and find this message." And he thought he was looking for one thing, and he knows we do this all the time. He was looking for one message, and then he found one, and he stopped on it. And because we said, "That's it. That's the one we wanted you to see." And he pulls it up, and he goes, "Wait a minute. This isn't a message. This is an email. Why am I here?" We said, "Open it." And what he opened was a document that he created in 2013. It was after we gave you your life operating instructions, you see. Because at that point, someone was interested in a book. They wanted to publish us, and we were really flattered about that, but it wasn't the time, because we wanted to do it now so we could be here for you. See, it's different. We know those concepts are really difficult for you to accept. Roger can't even accept it, but he keeps saying what we tell him. And it's fun. But what he opened was where we had written out everything about this program that he didn't even know he possessed. That's what happened. And he called it. He said, "Oh, I think it's going to be a book, and it's going to be called Becoming You." And that's what it is. And that's what you each are doing now. You're each becoming yourselves, and yourself is unique. It's different. It's individual, and it's perfect. All we're doing is giving you the tool to guide you to uncover that, to figure it out, to know it for sure.